Good evening, America. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the latest edition of Just the News, No Noise. I'm your host, John Solomon, reporting to you, as always, from the nation's capital, where today Americans got a heavy dose of what weaponization looks like. For the last 4 years on this show, we've tried to tell you that weaponization comes in two forms. One is Democrats using the Justice Department to go after their perceived enemies. The other is using the Justice Department to create a protection racket around their most corrupt members. And today, we ended up with 4 examples, 2 on each side. I'm going to walk you through them because I think it's really important for you to understand how important these revelations were. They come from Pam Bondi, they come from Kash Patel, and they come from Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassi, who got documents long denied the American public out today. Let's get you through them. The first one we knew about last night. 8 senators, 1 House member, all of their phone records surveilled by the FBI after Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, got a grand jury subpoena. The FBI rifled them through them, trying to find some dirt on 8 members of Congress and 1 House member, by the way, in a period of time when they were doing their constitutionally protected duty, which was to decide whether to certify the 2020 election between January 4th and January 7th. 2021. That's the first example. Let's give you the second, weaponization. If it sounds familiar, it's because we've had him on the show before, and he's going to join us in just a second. We know what Peter Navarro went through. We saw it on camera. We saw it in public. Today, we learned that the FBI specifically surveilled him and his family to find the opportune time to embarrass him with his arrest. They could have arrested him at his home. He was a block from the FBI office. They could have arranged for him to just surrender because he had a lawyer who was cooperating. But no, the FBI decided to watch him until he went to Reagan National Airport, and then they made a spectacle of it, arresting him in the middle of the airport. Today, confirmation that's exactly what the FBI did. They put a surveillance team on him to look for that opportune moment to create embarrassment for a perceived enemy of the Democrats. Now, let's go to the flip side. Who got the protection racket? Well, one of them's pretty familiar to all of us. His name is Hunter Biden, right? We confirmed this morning, thanks to newly declassified documents from CIA Director John Ratcliffe, that Joe Biden and his staff personally intervened to stop the CIA from publishing a intelligence report in 2016. By the way, this was a legitimate intelligence report. It met all the standards for distribution. But Joe Biden's staff complained. Why? Because the intelligence report was going to tell the Intelligence Committee policymakers in Washington that Ukrainians believe that Hunter Biden's work for Burisma, a corrupt energy company in Ukraine, was undercutting U.S. policy and creating hypocrisy in the argument that the U.S. wanted Ukraine to end corruption. How about that? The Ukrainians figured it out long before the Democrats did in this country that Hunter Biden was corrupt. That's one protection racket. We're going to give you one more. We learned during the hearing today with Pam Bondi that, remarkably, the FBI received evidence that Bill Clinton was having backdoor payments come to him through a political consulting firm. They had this information in the beginning of 2017, and according to Chuck Grassi, they didn't pursue it. Now, just think about that. One former president gets a pass, they don't look at it. The other sitting president goes through all of Russia collusion. That happened in the same time period. That's what weaponization looks like. Going after your enemies, protecting your crooked people in your own party. All of that happened in the last 24 hours. We got it all up on justthenews.com. I'm going to bring my amazing co-host Amanda Head because the Senate just gave Donald Trump a big gift. Tell us about it.
That's right. That's right. When it rains, it pours, hey? Yes, just before the show tonight, the Senate voted in block and they confirmed 107 of President Trump's nominees. So they are all passed through and very exciting for President Trump because those are nominees that he was really hammering on making happen. So even in the midst of a government shutdown, the Senate is still finding ways to get a few things done. All right, so we have to mention tonight, of course, that it is the 2nd anniversary of the October 7th attacks in Israel by Hamas. And President Trump marked today by hosting freed Israeli-American hostage Eden Alexander and his family at the White House. Now, Alexander was held hostage for 584 days before being released back in May. And he also hosted the family of murdered hostage Omer Nutra, whose body, unfortunately, is still in Gaza. Now, work continues on getting the rest of the hostages out and ending the conflict between Israel and Hamas, with Jared Kushner and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff flying to Egypt to oversee those negotiations on behalf of President Trump. Now, it's been reported that they will not be leaving Egypt until a hostage release agreement is reached. Now, this is all after Hamas has already agreed to release their Israeli hostages. This was last week. So, although at this hour none of of them have actually been freed. So we're going to have more on the second anniversary of October 7th in just a few minutes. But turning now to some more news from here in the nation's capital, Attorney General Pam Bondi was up on Capitol Hill today, testifying in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And in her opening remarks, she addressed the reporting around the FBI spying on Senate Republicans, and she did not hold back. Take a look.
As to ending the weaponization of justice, we learned that former FBI secretly investigated you and your colleagues. Why? They wanted to take President Trump off the playing field. They were playing politics with law enforcement powers and will go down as a historic betrayal of public trust.
And Attorney General Bondi also discussed judicial activism in the hearing, slamming it by categorizing the activism as unprecedented while lauding the Department of Justice for never ignoring a court order. And she also got into it with Senate Democrats over the Trump administration's use of the National Guard to help combat a lot of these issues happening in blue cities, the rising crime, especially in places like Chicago. So here was her exchange with Illinois Senator Dick Durbin.
The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
John, if she wasn't leaning over into a microphone, if she had it in her hand, that would be the opportunity for her to drop it.
Yeah, that left a mark, no doubt about it. It's been played over and over all day.
I know. It's fantastic.
All right, I'm really excited to kick off today's show. He wrote a book that I think everyone here should read. I Went to Prison So You Don't Have to. He was one of the abject targets of the Democratic weaponization machinery in the Justice Department. Today, he got to see the actual documents showing how he was targeted, how they made a spectacle of his arrest. Joining us now, one of President Trump's closest advisors. He advises him on trade and manufacturing and so much more. Our good friend, Peter Navarro. Peter, good to have you here.
Nice to see you.
All right, you wrote this book. You knew this was going on, but today when you see the documents.
Well, I was there. I got to thank Chuck Grassley and his chief of staff, Josh Flynn Brown. They're absolutely tigers getting this. And I was sitting there. I went and looked at it. It was sitting way too close to Adam Schiff. I was worried I was going to stain my suit or something. Slime was kind of dripping off him. But this book. What's interesting about what happened today is the first chapter of this book. I went to prison so you won't have to. That's me, by the way, with my fiance. The night of the day I walked out of prison, gave a speech to the Republican National Committee. But the first chapter documents in detail this arrest for a misdemeanor.
That's right.
At Reagan Airport. Yeah. Where in the chapter I write 5 armed FBI agents took me down. Now I got to revise the chapter because what we learned today from the document drops by Chuck Grassley is there were more than a dozen of these agents not fighting terrorism. Nope. Not out fighting drug cartels, but going after a 74-year-old guy for a dispute with Congress that I was on the right side of, right? So this stuff is it's like Kafka, and it's like the Marx Brothers. It's like you read the field report and it goes, suspect leaves residence at 9:02, gets into an Uber. Now, where was my residence? Okay, my residence was literally
across the street, right?
50 yards across the street from the FBI. Okay, so they had two decisions. They could have taken me there. Okay, fine. Or the smart thing to do was to just call me and have me self-surrender. Now, why is that important? What did we learn today? When we asked for discovery from the judge, Ahmed Mehta, I call him the Jackal, clever dude. He refused to give me full discovery on that arrest, and the prosecution itself said they had given me everything they had, okay? They didn't give us this stuff, and according to a guy, I know a guy at Just the News, he says there's going to be more.
I think that's right.
We didn't get that either. But why is it important? It's right in the form. I love this. I just love it. I'm reading it. It's like there's a box that says, "Is this guy armed and dangerous?" And then we go check. No, not armed and dangerous, which would have been the only excuse for doing what they did.
Yeah.
Okay, the only excuse. And right out the thing they said, no, not armed and dangerous. This was lawfare, plain and simple. Now, let's go back a little bit and look at what happened yesterday, which you reported, which is the surveillance and eavesdropping on the Republican senators.
Yeah.
Right? That was Arctic Frost.
Right.
Right? Now, what's the connection between me and that? There's an agent named Walter Giardina who reports to a guy named Tim Tebow at the FBI.
Yeah.
And both of these SOBs were intimately involved in every single attempt to take Donald Trump down and put away people like me in prison from 2016 to 2024. Think about that, John. This was
an 8-year
the
war.
FBI, right? And when Giardina is like, he was the guy. It's fascinating stuff. You can't make this stuff. You try to write this as a film, they'd say, nah, that's over the top. This was the guy who read the Steele dossier, okay, and said that it was real, not fake. It's indisputable that it was fake. It was done by Christopher Steele, paid for by Hillary Clinton. It was designed to falsely portray Donald Trump in the pocket of the Russians. Just totally false. Giardina was a guy who greenlit that thing, and that begat what? Crossfire Hurricane, which was
He's a major figure in your book, right?
Major figure. He's the guy.
The book.
He's the guy who, when again, chapter 1, I went to prison. You go, so you won't have to. You go in the book, and it's like. Bonnie, my fiance, we're having like the loveliest 2 hours of our life on the way to the airport, playing backgammon, on the way to Nashville. We're happy as clams. We get in, we get more tickets, we get in the gangway. Everybody's had this experience. So what happens is they slam the doors behind us from the ticketing end, and I'm walking there with Bonnie. I didn't see him do that. And I see Giardina and his partner at the door of the aircraft coming at me with their guns at their side. I look behind me, and I got 3 armed agents coming in behind me. And I literally, you'll see this if they ever have any video footage of this. I said, I laughed. It's like, you got to be kidding me, right? Because you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And Giardina proceeds to put me arms behind the back, refused, by the way, to let me call a lawyer. I asked him twice. Puts my arms around my back, handcuffs. They take me off. I wind up in leg irons. And in the I went to prison so you won't have to. There's like a chapter called The Ghost of John Hinckley, right? They walking me down in leg irons. I'm trying to catch up to this guy who's going really fast. I get to the cell, bleak little piece of the world. And the guy makes a point of telling me that was the cell that John Hinckley was in after he shot Reagan. I'm thinking, like, what's the moral equivalence here? Guy standing up for the Constitution, okay, versus...
Guy tried to assassinate the president.
Yeah. So, anyway, I think the point here is, and the point of I went to prison so you won't have to, is simply this. If we don't hold them accountable, John, they're going to do it again. And it may start... as early as 2026 if they get a hold of the House of Representatives, because we know these people have no shame. I saw that on display. I feared for my republic today, John. Look at that hearing. Like everybody from Durbin to the right of him who are all Democrats. Durbin's trying to make the case that we're weaponizing the Justice Department. Wait a minute. You're the ones who put us in prison. Like, well, how's that about? Blumenthal gets on his soapbox. Pam Bondi calls him on it. It's like, hey, you lied. You lied about your military service. Schiff lied to Congress. I mean, that guy, it's like, I don't know why that guy's not in jail.
Peter, I got to ask you, though, because we're going to run up on our clock. These people are recalcitrant. They're crooked to their core.
Yes.
Your book is going to have a huge impact in the way of not allowing this to happen again. but it's not enough. Something else has to happen. What do you want to see as far as reparations? What will make it hurt enough they won't do it again?
Well, this is a call to action, right? And one of the things I learned in prison is that when you do something wrong, like the 200 felons I was in with, I was the only guy for a misdemeanor, they had all done something wrong. And what you have to do is punish so that it fits the crime and do it in a way that leads to deterrence so you don't have recidivism, okay? And last time I looked, it's Old Testament. It's just we need just Old Testament stuff. And if you don't hold them accountable, they will do it again and again and again. And we know who they are. We got Comey first in the queue, but there's a long line after that that need to be investigated. Brennan, Clapper, Page, Strzok, Rosenstein, Giardina, Tebow,
Weissman.
Schiff. Weissman. Who knows better that list than Just the News? I mean, folks, if you want to know what's happening before it happens, this is the place to find out. Right there. That guy there.
One question, because I think it will shock people. If the FBI had called your lawyer and asked you to surrender, you would have surrendered, right?
Not only that, I wrote a memo to them 2 days earlier and said, hey, if you're going to do something, call my lawyer. His name's Adam Katz.
Yep.
Whatever you need.
Yeah.
I told them that.
I know you did.
Okay.
You weren't going to do it.
And by the way, the other names are Ahmed Maida, the judge, two of my appeals court judges, who decided this. I have no appeal. No grounds for appeal. Well, guess what? My appeal's going to oral argument in December, and you know who's going to rule on that? Same two judges. That's another show we'll do sometime.
Yeah. It's got to get to the Supreme Court. That's where it's got to go.
That's where it's got to go.
Peter, the book is amazing. Your story is amazing. I thought about you all day knowing these documents are coming out. Thanks for joining us. It's a very powerful moment.
Yeah,
Thank you, my friend.
All right, buddy.
All right, folks, we got a lot more ahead for you. Quick commercial break ahead. Around the corner, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, he's identified a lot of weaponization. Without him, we wouldn't know most of what we know today. James Comer up next, right after these messages. Hey folks, as an investigative journalist, I've spent my career digging into the facts, cutting through noise, asking hard questions, and getting to the truth. And when it comes to who I recommend to my audience, I hold everyone to the same standard. That's why I want to tell you I've done the homework, and AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is the real deal. AMAC is a conservative alternative to AARP. They're focused on faith, family, and freedom, and they offer real benefits to their members, myself included, including discounts on travel insurance, in prescriptions, so much more, exclusive resources, and their excellent AMAC magazine. And right now, when you sign up for a 5-year membership, you'll save up to 33%. That's just over $1 a month, a smart investment to stay informed, get real value, and support a cause that matters. Visit amac.us/justnews today. I've done the vetting. Now you can take the next step.